Welcome, welcome. We are waiting for Mr. Rick, the wealth coach, to join. Welcome, Plant-Based God 216. Welcome, welcome. There we go. We are waiting for Mr. Rick, the wealth coach, Mr. Rick Williams, to join. Good afternoon. I don't know where you are in the world right now, but it's afternoon here in Atlanta. Peace, peace. I see you, Beauty Sponge. We might be able to bring you on a little bit later. Hang on, hang on. Peace, peace. Hello, hello, hello. Hey. Yes, to answer that question, yes, we are. All right, North Carolina. All right, Callie, I see you. See, yeah, y'all dedicated. I see you. All right, I see you. I see you. Is there? We working on it. The We Buy Black app. There isn't one just yet. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. California, I see you. New York in the house, I see you. All right. And we are waiting for Mr. Rick, the wealth coach. I know he's on, but I need you to go ahead and, hey, Memphis. Hey, Connecticut. Hey, California. Dang, Cali is in the building. Amsterdam, I see you. Colombia, that's what's up. I'm happy to see y'all. I'm glad you're here. The UK. All right. So, Mr. Rick Williams, you are here. Okay, so I need you to go ahead and request to join for me. Oh, it's 10. Okay, got it. Understood. It's 10 p.m. in Italy. All right, then. Is there a We Buy Black YouTube channel? Yes. I'm kind of sad you don't already know that. Yes, we got some amazing black businesses for you to check out on the YouTube channel. There's a whole playlist full of them. Texas, I see you. More UK in the building. I knew Maryland was going to show up. Maryland always shows up. Finland, there we go. All right, we got the request. Miami, so happy for the South Florida love. Thank you. All right, we got Rick the Wealth Coach in the house. Let's see. Let's get him on. There we go. We got him. Hello, Mr. Rick the Williams Wealth Coach.
Good evening to you, Queen Jensine. How are you, my dear?
I am well. Good evening, good afternoon. We got people from Italy to Finland, to Amsterdam. So wherever you are, welcome. So we have Mr. Rick, the Wealth Coach Williams, here with us at We Buy Black. And we brought him in because he has an amazing program that he's about to be starting. Tomorrow is the beginning of the challenge, correct?
Correct.
So it's the first day of August. It's the first day of Black Business Month. And we wanted to bring on Mr. Rick Williams to talk to us about not just prosperity, right? Because we hear wealth and we think of prosperity. You know, everybody's on this generational wealth thing right now. But we have to also keep in mind, because I had a conversation with my brother and he reminded me, and I know he's going to take that opportunity to remind you all, we're not just talking about personal prosperity. We're talking about our posterity and how we're passing that on and what that looks like and how we can make sure that all of this effort that we're putting in all of the businesses that we are creating and supporting, that we're also looking at how that legacy lasts beyond us. So if you can, please, and I know you can, this guy is so dynamic. I spoke to him for like 10 minutes and I was inspired. So I'm so excited for him to tell us more about himself. You got the floor, you got the audience. Let's hear, who is Mr. Rick, the Wealth Coach Williams?
Well, I appreciate it. And all I got to say is what the great prophet Teddy Pendergrass said. He said, "It's so good loving somebody when somebody loves you back." You know what, girl? That's a fact. So it's so good to be loved by somebody so precious as you are. And a part of what you guys are doing, because what you're doing is precious, vital, essential, necessary, and creating the posterity of our people. You know, we need to understand what we don't understand. And the whole idea that you started out, what I really represent, My company is called Stellar Wealth Management, and our motto is "Let trust begin." In other words, when you meet people, we have a problem with trust when it comes down to the Black race, and it's not by happenstance. It's not something that just happened to happen. It was a deliberate effort based on Willie Lynch when he rode up and down the Mississippi River, and he said, "You guys are killing y'all companies by beating out, killing all these slaves. What you need to do is you need to get the young ones that hate the old ones. You need to get the skinny ones that hate the fat ones. You need to get the light skinned ones that hate the brown skinned ones. You need to get the house Negroes that hate the field Negroes. And you need to keep them at odds with one another. And if you divide and conquer them, always the best way to win a war." So we have a trust issue amongst ourselves, but our trust issues could be taken care of if we were just educated. So I'm an educator, basically, of the Black race when it comes down to money, real money, how the hundreds of millions are made, not how the few dollars are made, how the real money is made. Because the real money is made through a couple of key things that I'm going to reveal to you guys today, because I'm like Robin Hood. I find out what's going on with the really, 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 really rich, and then I reveal it to my own folks because I'm straight from the hood. All right, I'm on the south side of Chicago right now, about to go to a picnic. I'm sitting in a lot in the south suburbs of Chicago, about to go to a picnic with all my homies from when we was little boys. I'm 60 years old. We was 9 or 10 years old. Queen Ginseng, and we meet once a year just to just praise God that we all still alive. You dig? We've been knowing each other since we was like 9 or 10 years old. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting right here. After I get through talking with you, I'm gonna go over and kick it with my friends I grew up with. So I believe in the community, in the unity of the community. So let's go back to your first suggestion that you just made, that there's a big difference between posterity and prosperity. Let's talk about the difference between the two. In the Book of Solomon, my major mentor is King Solomon. My number one mentor in the world is King Solomon. Why do I King Solomon? Because saying King Solomon was a trillionaire. All right. So I figured, my mother told me this. She said, "Ricky, if you're gonna get some information, consider the source, okay?" She said, "If you're gonna follow some instructions, consider the source. And if you're gonna talk to somebody about some money, get your information from the richest person around, period, in the world. Don't Why stop at number two if you can have number one?" King Solomon, he says in Ecclesiastic 6:1, he says this, Queen Jensen. He says, "There's an evil that I've seen up under the sun." He said, "but it's common among men." He said that God would bless a man to have wealth, material things, comfort, and he just leave it to a stranger. So let's just talk about a couple of situations that happened recently where some of our most noted Black folks in the whole world left their stuff to strangers. Let's start out with my main man, James Brown. "I got soul and I'm super bad." See, James Brown had soul and he was super bad, but what he had was some super bad management of his money. All right. He was a bad man down and doing some splits. He lost 5 pounds just doing one gig. You dig what I'm saying? He was a bad man. But when it came down to that money,
Sweat. It was all sweat.
all sweat, baby. He's the hardest working man in show business, and reached millions around the world and made multi millions. But listen, it took 16 years to settle his estate. His estate went to probate court. What most people don't understand is that the way that they're currently set up, they're not set up for posterity. They just set up for some temporary prosperity. And there's a big difference between the two. Because the biggest thing that happens to most of us, what happens to most of us, is that our stuff goes to probate court when something happens to us. Our family doesn't get any money. We leave the money to a stranger. Who is the stranger? The probate judge, the probate attorney, and the I, the R, and the S. And when I get through teaching you who the IRS really is today, you have a different perspective on them, because they're not a government entity. It's just a third-party collection agency that actually works for you if you understand the tax laws like I do. See, when the IRS works for me. So when I travel around the country and around the world, every time I spend $1, I get back $4. So every time I can't go broke, because every time I spend $1, I get back $4, because the IRS has to give me tax credits on every single dollar that I spend, because I know the tax laws. When you know the tax laws, then you get tax credits. Uh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm in the middle of an interview all over the country. Is there something I can do for you real quick? My battery went dead. I don't have any cables. You got cables? I got cables. Well, if you got some cables and you want to pull, if you want to pull over close enough, well, I'm gonna have to pull over to you, huh? I'm gonna have to pull. All right, y'all. We're gonna have to bless somebody, okay? Somebody's stranded out here. I'm gonna have to pull over next to them and let them pull up my trunk while we're doing this. Now, you notice the Bible say, "Don't pass up church. Don't pass up church to go to church." All right.
All right.
So, yeah, don't make no
When
sense.
he's out here to help.
Talking to y'all about posterity and prosperity and all that, and I play this man off, talking about I'm too busy to help him. That's what people do all the time, ain't it? They so busy passing up church to go to church. It don't make no sense. Hopefully he can reach this right here. So what I was telling you, Queen, is that when I travel around the world, I don't never pay for nothing. I get tax credits for every single thing that I do. So I can never outlive my money. And my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids and my great grandkids, they can't outlive our money because we get tax credits. So you say, what is a tax credit? We'll get back to that in a few minutes. I'll tell you what a tax credit is. I'll tell you how I get what the Trumps get, how I get what the Kennedys get, what the DuPonts get, what the Rothschilds get. I'm going to show you how I get that and how that's how real money is made. This little money, these few little dollars, these couple of little wood nickels, this strange change. If you don't understand tax credits, you don't even know what real money is. So we'll get back to that in a few minutes. But first, let's finish talking about what Solomon said. He said it makes no sense to take your money, your hard work, your hard efforts, queen, all that hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and then leave it to some strangers. The IRS is a stranger. Probate court is a stranger. So what happened with the King of Souls estate is that after 16 years, they finally. You good? Pull up a little more. Okay. So what happened after 16 years? Is that good? So what happened after 16 years is that they took his estate and they gave half of it to charity. His kids thought they was going to get that money, right? But they then nothing happened. See, they didn't operate out of trust, and probably I say, Queen, sad to say, probably 95 to 99% of our listeners right now, hardworking black folk. I'm talking about we cold blooded when it comes down to making money. We know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. We can make Benjamin scream. Are you dig what I'm saying? We know how to make Benjamin work, but we don't know how to keep Benjamin. All right, because we're not thinking past the immediate. We're thinking about the immediate, and we're not thinking about the fact that we're mortal people and that we're going to check up out of here one day. Because I don't care how we struggle or how we strive, we ain't getting up about this life alive. You dig what I'm saying? And everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So ain't nobody going to heaven without dying. You dig? So we need to sober up and face the fact that if we're gonna have some generational money, we're gonna have to address some things. We got a bunch of envelopes around our crib that ain't got nothing written on them. You know what I'm saying? We ain't addressing some stuff. You dig what I'm saying? We need to learn how to address some things, and one of the things that we need to learn how to address is our mortality, because we're gonna be sown in weakness, but we're gonna be raised in power. But we're gonna check up out of here. So let's get sober about that, and let's get to thinking. So here's the first scripture that'll teach a person how to think differently. And this is my main man, King Solomon. This is my man. I quote King Solomon all the time because King Solomon had plenty of printed paper with pertinent presidents on it. He had that galloping gold. You dig what I'm saying? King Solomon was a bad man. He wasn't no joke. He might have been funny, but he wasn't no joke. So I believe in King Solomon's wisdom. And King Solomon said that the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just, and a good man leaves a heritage to his children's children. That's Proverbs 13:22. That's a proverb from King Solomon. So when I wake up in the morning, I say, who got my money? That's what I say. I say, man, who got my doggone money? What sinner got my money who ain't doing right with it? Unleash my cash, all right? Unleash my paper, because I believe in the scripture. And the scripture says that a good man leaves a heritage to his children's children. So if you take the attitude of, you know what? I want to have so much money that it bypasses me. You're going to have enough money for you if you want to have more money than what you need. And that's the attitude that we need to take about money. Money is good. Some people say, the Queen, they say money ain't good or bad. I say, I can tell you don't read the Bible. The Bible says money is good, real good. Matter of fact, in Genesis chapter 2, it's saying the gold in that land was good. All right, not okay, not all right, not subpar, not a good idea, not anomaly. That the gold in that land was good. Now, so money is good. People tell you it ain't good or bad. I say, no, you need to read the Bible more, because money is good, real good. And money can't buy you love, but it make a sure damn good down payment. So when a person tell you that money ain't good, I'm like, bro, you need to re-examine these doggone scriptures so that you can get a real idea about money. So they did that to my main man, James Brown. They gave half of his estate to charity after 16 years. Then the two other cases is that we have the queen of the great queen of soul, Aretha Franklin. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. But they ain't giving my sisters, they ain't giving her stuff no respect. All right, respect. R-E-S-P-E-C-K. They ain't giving no dog. I mean, when she left her estate, $6 million in taxes, they finally settled it. $8 million in taxes, and now they can finally start dealing with, giving their kids and stuff some money. Finally, after they got their cut. Why in the world we give people a cut out of our estate? That don't make no doggone sense.
I was back to that thing you said though. Who's got my money? Who's got my money? And that's We Buy Black. That's what we're about, is making sure we know who's got our money. So it's good to even have you on. We had a sister, India Ali, on I want to say last month, and that was her whole thing, was making sure that we didn't go through probate. She taught us the whole probate lesson last time. like, don't do it. Anything you do, make sure you set up something. And she was talking to us about trusts. So that was her way of making sure that we understood we don't want to go through probate. We don't want our children to have to sit through and let other people's hands touch the money before they even get to see it.
Come on, they strangers. They strangers. Okay. Now, strangers is cool if you sing an Eddie Kendrick's cut. He had a cut called "You and I Are the Best of Strangers." And now that's cool if you was listening to Eddie, but that ain't cool if you're talking about your money. It ain't nothing cool about leaving your money to the doggone strangers. So we got one more case to talk about, and then let's go on to our idea about cost, because it's one to help us to learn in the Black community about the difference between paying for something and what something costs. So the third person is our main man, Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther. All right. We know that one of his favorite, um, one of the favorite lines in this movie, that phenomenal, sensational, global movie with so many good implications, is that "I never freeze." You know, that's one of his favorite lines. And then they froze his accounts. His accounts got froze over the last 2 years. So he had a $3.8 million estate, and they took 1.3 million of it, and they just gave it away. Just gave it. First of all, he should have had a $20 million estate, being as cold as he was. If he'd been messing with me, he had at least 50 million. But so he had a relatively small estate, and then they gonna gangster the money out of his little estate that he already had that was already pretty modest for somebody of his stature. And they took 1.3 million of that, and he just gave it away. So then finally they got 2.5 million left that they gave to his mother and that they gave to his wife. So why is this? Why is this? It's because we have some things that we want to address, and it's because we get some really, really bad advice. You have these people who have really notable people, and we get some really bad advice. When I wrote my book, Control Everything, Own Nothing, let's see if we got any in here. Hold on a second.
So y'all know, anybody who's come on late, we are on with Rick, the wealth coach, and he's running down a whole lesson for us. We're getting the whole lesson.
When I wrote this book, this is my new book, Control Everything, Own Nothing, and it's and the foreword is done by my friend Tim Brown from the Oakland Raiders. He's one of the top 10 wide receivers ever. So we sat down at the U.S. Open a couple of years ago, Queen, and we started talking about, man, what we gonna do? We got all these young brothers making all this money, because most of these athletes go broke. People don't. It's not really broadcast. And I said, so how you living, Tim? He said, man, I don't buy nothing I don't buy a hamburger without buying it out of my trust. He said, nobody got control over my money. All my stuff is private. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows how I'm operating. And then he said, Rick, I also get tax credits. Now, when he said that, that's when the hair on the back of my head stood up, because I had a lot of property, right? I was buying properties all over the country. Let me just tell you, first of all, in 2015, I was so broke I couldn't pay attention, right? I was working in a warehouse, and somebody stole some in the warehouse, and they fired me. I'm like, what they got to do with me? They fired me like Craig on Friday. They fired me on my off day. I'm
So
like,
no,
yeah, like Craig on Friday. Wayne fired me like Craig on Friday on his off day. And I was like, well, that's really cold. But you know what I found out about? What I found out about the word fire, Queen? Are you familiar with the origin of the word fire?
no, not.
Okay. So when the Europeans first came to America, they had slaves. It was white slaves and black slaves. It wasn't just black slaves. And the white slaves, they weren't treated the way black slaves were naturally. They were treated more like human beings, and they were in indentured service. So after 7 years, they were let go, because the Constitution and the way that the white folks came over here from England, the laws that they wrote lined up with the Bible. So in the Bible, people got set free after 7 years, because it was called the year of Jubilee. So they would let you go after 7 years if you was a slave. So what they did with the slaves is that they let them go after 7 years. So the indentured service, that's the white slaves, that is. They wasn't letting us go. They was just dogging us until eternity. But they was telling the white slaves, y'all can go after 7 years. So after 7 years, they would take the papers that they gave them that made them a slave. They would go out and create a bonfire, sit around that fire, throw the papers into the fire, and fire themselves from being slaves. So the word fire comes from is really the origin of being set free. So some of you guys need to get fired, all right? Because some of y'all working jobs that y'all ain't gonna quit. See, I wasn't gonna quit, so they fired me. The devil didn't fire me. God fired me, all right? Because he knew I wasn't gonna quit. I was gonna work. I'd already signed up. I said, I'm working Christmas. I'm working New Year's. I'm working overtime. Shucks, that $10 an hour is gonna be about $15 an hour by the time I get through with overtime. So God fired me. I went out and did a real estate deal. I made more money off of one real estate deal because I was fired, because I had time to think. See, because most people don't have time to think. They'll work 60 hours a week just to keep from thinking. They say, man, Brother Rick, I got 3 jobs. I say, boy, you lazy as hell. They say, what? They say, what you say, brother? I say, boy, They say, hey, watch your mouth now. I say, no, you watch your mouth. I'm from the hood. He say, man, I work 60 hours a week. I say, yeah, that's to keep from thinking. All right. I say, if you work that hard, you got to be a slave because slaves don't think. You're taking slaves' labor. Thinking people, we make money. We make more money in a day than y'all make all year. Why? Because we have masterminds. I just came back from a mastermind I just did with my students from around the world in Nashville, Tennessee, just yesterday. We was there for 3 days. By the time we get through it a half an hour, we done came up with a multi-million-dollar idea. All right, because we sit down and we think. All right, you better what? Think. You better think. All right, and people don't like to think. You ever look at somebody, Queen, and you bring up some ideas, and they look at you like their head hurting? You ever see that? Like
Yeah.
like a deer caught in the headlights. You like, you know what? You are adverse to thinking, ain't you? I can tell just looking at you that this is giving you a headache, ain't it? Why? Because jobs teach you how to do what? They teach you. They think for you. So all they do is just give you tasks to do, which has no creativity. And because it doesn't have any creativity, then you don't make no real money, because real money is made off of ideas. Because ain't money, ideas are money. Are you digging what I'm putting down?
I am. Hold on. Because you're going to be to run through 20 different things. I'm telling you, the wealth is just pouring out. I'm appreciative because I got a feeling people have to pay for this. I got a feeling.
Sometimes.
People got to pay for this. When the challenge tomorrow, all of this comes out. I got a feeling.
All week. Yeah. All week.
So okay, wait. So Mr. Williams, you are from the south side of Chicago. Like, that's where you actually grew up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because my family, my mother, her mother, they're from south side of Chicago too.
What's up? Raise the roof then. Come on, let's go.
James Brown references kept, I was like, okay, yeah, he's definitely from Chicago. Because when I tell you that's my grandmother's man, her stories about the Regal Theater and James.
What you know about that? What you know about that, Queen? Watch out now.
You see what I'm saying?
Friendly with a good time.
I look, all right, we got Southside in the house. I see you, Miss Brittany. I tell you that it's a lot of information that you're tossing out real fast. So I'm gonna bring you back to a couple of things. I definitely want us to come back to the tax credit, right? Because that conversation that you were sitting down and having with Mr. Tim Brown, and y'all started to discuss what the he uses to spend his money and how he makes sure that nobody even knows how he's using it. Can we dip back into that? Because you broke off something about tax credits in the beginning, and then you mentioned it then again. So what do we need to know about tax credits?
Okay. So a tax credit is like every time money is spent or every time some money is exchanged, there's a tax credit that's created. The problem is that unless you have the kind of status to be able to get it, you can't get it. So a tax credit is like, let's say that you use a card and you left your coat. And you're like, man, I left my doggone coat. I forgot all about it. You get back to the crib, you realize, man, I left my coat. Man, so you go back to the park and you don't see it. And then you look at the same bench, you start looking up under the bench, around the bench, and all of a sudden you see a dude or a sister walking down, and you know it's your coat. The exact same coat, got your stuff on. So you roll up on them and you confront them. You say, hey, excuse me, bro. Excuse me, queen. You try to be polite about it. You say, that's my coat. I left it in the park yesterday. They say, you got some receipts? You're like, huh? They say, you got a receipt. Like a receipt for my coat? I done had the coat for 5 years. What you mean do I have a receipt? I ain't got no doggone receipts, man. How we gonna settle this? They like, look like it's my coat then if you ain't doggone receipts, unless you wanna boom, 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 and a zoom, zoom. So you can't get stuff back because you have no proof. All right. So a tax credit is just like that. You can't get them. 99% of all my friends that's listening right now, they're not set up to get a tax credit. Why? Because the way that they do business, they do it is what you call artificial person. Because you got corporations, LLCs, C corps, S corps, but you're not considered a natural person. And all of what you're doing is incorporated. So because every single thing that you do is incorporated, you don't have the power to get a tax credit. So how do you get a tax credit? You operate unincorporated. And that's what I do. I create unincorporated companies for people, unincorporated trusts for people that gives them the right to be able to get a tax credit. I just gave out a $95 million check. So this is what the real money is, not the little pecans, not the little puckons, not the little 3s and 2s and 3s and 4s. So let me tell you who I emulated. And I want you guys, if you guys go to my YouTube channel, Rick the Wealth Coach, and go to my YouTube channel, just watch my commercial with me and Donald Trump. All right? And Donald Trump is on here. He can tell the story way better than I can. Says Donald Trump said, they asked him a question when he was, and this is what's amazing. people don't even pay attention to this. It just go over everybody's head. So he's having a conversation with Biden when he was rerunning for office. Okay, remember that a couple of years ago? He's rerunning for office. So the dude that's doing the facilitating, he said, "Trump, come on, just come clean, player. You paid $7,500 in taxes in 2016. We're looking right at it. Is that true? Is that true?" Trump started skating, right? At first he was doing like, we got a skating rink over here called the rink, right? But first Trump started doing the crazy legs, right? Then he started doing the big wheel.
Okay, I know if y'all, because I know, okay, so you got to understand, we got young people on here too. So it's familiar with skating, but Chicago skating, a whole different animal. And everything he just said was hilarious. Just go Google it, please. Go Google it.
Hey, tell them we got our mustard. They need to catch up. So Trump escaped. All they gotta do is watch Lil Bow Wow. I know they all up on Lil Bow Wow. Y'all
know, roll bounce. There you go.
Roll bounce. Right. All they gotta do is watch Sweetness. Sweetness in a roll bounce. I was watching it the other night. That's why it's still fresh on my mind. I laughed so.
I see, sweetness.
You know what's really funny? I know the people that was in the doggone movie. They my friends. A lot of the people was from because it was done in Chicago, right? So you throwing me off. Okay. Trump. So Trump started skating first. He started trying to get away, trying to get around what was really going on. In other words, he wasn't coming clean. But you know Trump, he can't skate too long because he's such a brass person. So he just got on down to the point. He said, "Listen, I'm from the private sector, all right?" He said, "Me and all my homies, we from the private sector, okay?" He said, "We don't want to pay no taxes." He said, "Matter of fact, you got to be stupid to pay some doggone income taxes." All right, this is Trump talking, right? He said, "And I get tax credits." Woo! He let the cat out the bag then. Are you listening to me? He let the cat out the bag then. He said, "I get tax credits." All right, that went straight over America's head and most of the country. Because if y'all go to my video and look at this, it ain't got nothing but a few thousand views. A few thousand views of the richest dude in the world with the biggest checkbook in the world got access to all the world's money, and ain't nobody even listening to this dude. It went straight over everybody's head, and everybody running around there playing tiddlywinks with their money when all you got to do to get some real money is develop some tax credits. So he said, "Look, I bought a hotel." All this stuff is public knowledge. So I bought a hotel. I paid $120 million for it. You know how much he got back in tax credits? $885 million he got back in tax credits for paying $120 for a building. Listen, Amazon made $232 billion in 2018, 11 billion in profits. You know what they paid in taxes? Nothing. They got back $129 million tax refund. Are you listening to what I'm talking about? So when I'm talking to my friends and my colleagues and my partners and stuff, I'm like, you got no business at all. Not only zeroing out all your little taxes, but you're supposed to get back a substantial check in tax credits. So that's what we get. We give out the biggest checks you ever seen in your life. You get a refund from us. You can go lay it down for about 10 years and figure out what you want to go do, because you get tax credits. You get a percentage back, a multiple back of all the money you spent. And when you get through paying all our fees and everything, you'll end up with about 4 times what you spend. So if you want to make $1 million with us, you ain't even got to invest no money. Just spend $250. If that answers you.
Right. Yeah, you heard what he just said again. Say it again.
Yeah, I know it sounds incredulous, okay? I know it sounds incredulous because we all been to these child concentration camps they call schools, okay? And when you go to a child concentration camp, it's all, you see, schools, let me tell you who made up schools. The school system was created by John Rockefeller, by Rockefeller's daddy, rather. So why did he create the school system? He says this. He said, "I created the public school system as a diversion." What do you mean by that? In other words, I don't want you thinking about how to make real money because we don't like competition. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you to the child concentration camps where the dude teaching you is broke as hell. How you going to learn from Professor broke as hell? What are he going to teach you? He broke as hell. What are you going to teach you? He make $50,000. He make $100. I'm talking about all year. All right. I ain't talking about like we make it like off of a half a transaction in a few minutes. I'm talking about he make $50,000 all year, or maybe $100,000 all year. And you sitting there for 4 years and you paid him $100,000 to listen to him. Are you listening? You paid $100,000 for 4 years to listen to somebody that's broke. That don't make no doggone sense. All right, so that's why when I say something about tax credits, everybody over there just had to pick themselves up off the ground. It was like, what? 4 4 times back what I spent. Brother Rick trying to send me to jail. There ain't no such thing. That's the first thing start going through everybody's head. Why? Because you've been abasinated. Let me teach you a word. First of all, everybody got to get this book outside of my book. Naturally, shameless plug one more time, dear, since we on here together. And that's control everything. Oh, nothing. Secrets of how the wealthy legally avoid taxes, legally avoid taxes, and legally avoid lawsuits. Okay, so
somebody find the link and put it in the comments. I'll pin it.
Okay, great. So it's www.controlebook.com.
All right, somebody find that for me. If you put it in the comments, I'm gonna pin it so everybody can see it. Somebody.
Yeah, JL, put that in. Put that in for us. A tab at the one. Several of my students are listening right now. Some of them was in my mastermind over the weekend, so
Okay.
they're glad to help out. So, but outside of that book, there's another book I want all y'all to read around the world, and that book is called Black's Law Dictionary. Black's Dictionary, the 11th edition. Black's Law Dictionary, the 11th edition. Now you'll find a word in Black's Law Dictionary, and this word is called abassination. All right, and abassination is this. Back in the medieval days, Queen, when they wanted to make sure that they made laborers out of the prisoners of war, they didn't kill them, right? When they got the prisoners of war, when they come in and take all your land, take your stuff, gangster your stuff, they got your women and all this sort of thing. Now you are slaves. They say, well, we're going to make sure they do right. So they abasinated them. That means that So that means they took hot coals and they burned their eyes out. Now you say, why didn't they just kill them? That sound awful. That sound extremely callous to burn somebody's eyes out. Well, if I kill you, I can't use it for labor. But if I burn your eyes out, you got to do what I said, right? Why? Because if you blind and I pimp slap you, can't say where it came from, right? All right, I can just say somebody else hit you, wasn't me. All right, what you gonna do? You blind in the land of the blind, Queen, the one-eyed man is king. All right. So what happens with people is that in order to keep a person in check, which is what the United States Incorporation of America does, keeps us in check because they're not a government. It's the United States Incorporation of America. All right. Just like the IRS is not a government entity, it's a private company. 60% of it is owned by the Vatican, 40% of it is owned by the Queen of England. The headquarters is in the Philippines and Puerto Rico. It ain't even headquartered here. All right. So the way that we operate globally, and IRS work for us. They get us tax credits no matter what we do in business at. In the United States, out of the United States, any country, any place in the world, because they are a global company. But they have abasinated all of us, and we sitting there thinking they work in the United States and that they're a government entity. We slow. All right, seriously slow over here thinking that things are real that are not real. So what is abassination? Abassination is meant to do one thing: scare you. All right. So how have we been abasinated? We've been abasinated by the tax laws. We've been abasinated through school. We've been abasinated. In other words, we believe stuff that absolutely ain't true, and we don't believe stuff that absolutely is true. And what's the easiest way to get somebody not to believe something? Punk them, right? You ain't thinking right when you're scared. All right. Listen, I come from the straight south side of Chicago. You ain't about to scare me about all of it. I'd have been tied up in my own crib with duct tape. You ain't about to scare me about no money. All right? You dig about no business and all that sort of thing. You're not gonna not stick my head in the sand and be some little punk and just let you tell me something and pour pee on my head and tell me it's raining and just G for what you said just because you said it. You're gonna have to give me some book versions.
You need an older person in your life to know that one.
Well, listen, it's too many of us, Queen. It's too many people scratching where they don't itch and laughing where they ain't tickled. You dig what I'm saying? You can't. Anybody got time for that foolishness? We grown men and grown women, and especially we've been there 400 years. It's time for us to get ours. This is the biggest wealth shift in the history of time with this internet, with the global internet. I've been live every day for 3 years. All right, I ain't new here. I grew here. I make sure that people know who I am and what's going on with me. I got funnels, the whole nine. I got people on young men working for me that's listening here on here right now that create funnels and all that kind of stuff. Why? Because you got people trying to make money, Queen, in the old era. I'm like, you country is all get up, bruh, sis. That stuff is over with. Them days is over with forever. Just like everybody listening to us, Queen, who's a coach. I'm like, so you coaching people, so what are you doing? You got a challenge you doing? They like, what's that? I'm like, what you mean, what's that, man? That means you're talking to everybody all at one time, all over the world. You get down with them for a week, 2 days, 3 days, maybe something like that. Why? Because it's way easier to make a lot of money fast than it is to make a little money slow. And they like, I don't understand what you're talking about, Rick. I say, well, let me rewind the clock and help you a little bit, all right? I say, people that do business in the old days, they make money like the old way. But you got to make money in the era that you living in, not the era that you used to be in, the era that you wish was around. So all you got. I'm sorry, Queen. You got something? You look like you got something on your mind. Go ahead.
I wanted to, because somebody just put up funnels with a question mark. So I didn't want you to run too far past it because you can get on the roll. Um, what explain to them what a funnel is.
All right, so that's when a person meets you and you selling them stuff, you can stay in touch with them for the rest of their life, even though you met them one time. You can sell them the same person 100 things. All right, because people buy things that are like. You know, how many pair of shoes you got, Queen?
Oh, I don't know. Don't give me the line here. Don't give me the line.
You got
Bro.
you got any friends that's got at least 10 pair of shoes?
At least 10, yes.
All right. Okay. So the problem with people is that they try to find 100 people to sell one thing when one person buy 100 from you if you know how to put them in a funnel. In other words, they like you already, they cool with you, they down with you already. They'll buy 6 or 7 things that's like what you got. You ever go in the store and buy one item? You ever went in Walmart and bought one toothbrush? All right. When you go in the store, you come out with a whole cart full of stuff, right?
But when I buy toothbrushes, I buy them online from Core Oral, shameless plug.
I get no help from you, Queen. I can't get no help. I
But you know, you know.
Well, I want to ask you a question though. So a funnel, it helps a person go through a sales process, and we do them. We professionals with them. All right, we do them. So if somebody interested in that, just send me a direct message, and our staff will talk to you about that.
So from what I understand, I just want to run this real quick. From what I understand about funnels is wherever somebody is able to find you, whether that be on social media or an ad or wherever, you are able to collect that person's information and be able to retarget them or retouch them or stay in touch with them for the life of their being a customer of yours.
I couldn't have said it better. Stay in touch, because this is the problem here. This is the thing about making money, real money. It's a disposition, an attitude. And it's the attitude of this, okay? This is what it is like, Queen. See, most people operate like this. They let everybody into their life, all right? Poo butts, all kind of folk you shouldn't even have nothing to do with, shouldn't even know, shouldn't even be nowhere near the, they ought to be in the balcony of your theater. They shouldn't be nowhere near the front seat. But you let everybody in quite readily, okay? And what I mean by that is that a person to start a company and a business, they get a customer, and then they'll run around like the dickens trying to find another customer. I'm like, why don't you just stop and turn your customer into a client? All right, because it's a blessing for a person to buy your stuff. It's a blessing for a person to do business with you. It's a blessing to serve people. The Lord said, let him that's greatest amongst you be your servant. So when you start a business, all you're doing is starting a servanthood. That's all you're doing, and you just happen to get paid for it. All right, money is just the byproduct of amazing, phenomenal, sensational, mind-blowing business, a service. All right, let him that's greatest amongst you be a servant. So the way that we operate in the culture that we operate up under is like this. Okay, we let people in up here, and then we treat you real good up here. And then you learn how to treat the people up under you better, and then you build pyramids. People say, Rick, a pyramid, that's a scheme, man. That's a scheme. I don't want to be bothered with no scams, but let me help y'all. All right, you already been scammed. You went to school. They got you already, okay? You too late for me to get you. You behind the 8 ball already. When you went to school, that was a scam. But scheme comes from the word schematic, which means a plan. So when I talk to people, they talk about, hey, Rick, I mean, you trying to look like you talking about some get rich schemes. So say what you want, get rich slow scheme. What's your plan? Get rich slow. All right. Let me tell you something. You ain't gonna get rich at all, and your goal is to get rich slow. Are you listening to me? When your goal is to get rich fast, at least if you get at least if your hamburger ends up medium rare, you all right. But if you ask for a rare hamburger, you're gonna get a rare hamburger. So people's problem, Queen, is not that they aim high and miss. Their problem is that they aim low and hit. If you was boxing an average cat today, you don't better not guard your dukes. You better guard your waist because he ain't even swinging for your head. He's swinging for your doggone waist. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm sorry, I got another rampage. Did I answer your question, dear?
You did. We got it. What was funnels? We got it.
All right. So let's go back to cost because we got a lot of black folk here. And let's talk about cost. And I want to talk about the cost. Like I love what y'all doing. We buy black. And let me tell you why that's so spectacular to me. Because you unashamed. You ain't apologizing. You like we've been buying white, we've been buying Puerto Rican, we've been buying Asian, we've been buying Chinese. We've been what? You gotta apologize for buying black. And ain't nobody else on the face of the earth as naive as we are. First name Nye, last name E. Don't make no doggone sense to be so doggone nice. How in the world we gonna build up anything and we build it up everybody else's kingdom but ours? It don't make no doggone. We build it up everybody else's kingdom but ours. And then when we start talking about how we stomp down with each other like 4 flat tires, we got to apologize. Man, miss me and move around, all right? We supposed to be. Charity starts at home and then it spreads abroad. So let's talk about cost. Let's talk about cost for a second, Queen, because we got a lot of people who don't understand the difference between what something costs and the difference between paying for something and what something costs. All right. So let's say, Queen, that you and I was doing some business together. So you give me $100, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Give me $100. I give you back. Let's see. I give you back. Okay, you give me $100. I give you back $2,000. All right. You give me 100. I give you back $2,000. All right. So, how much did that cost you for you to get your $2,000?
Okay, ask me.
Yeah, how much did it cost you? You gave me 100. I gave you back $2,000. How much did it cost you?
It cost me 100.
Okay, it didn't cost you nothing, right?
No, it didn't cost me anything at all.
Right, because you got left over.
How much do I have left over? I got 1,900 left over.
1,900 left over. Come on, Queen. Mama can cook real good. Do the food taste better the first time or the leftovers? Come on,
Leftover.
the leftovers.
Left.
It's the leftovers. See what
Oh,
people saying? They focused on the initial payment or something. They ain't focused on the leftovers. You dig what I'm saying? It's the leftovers that you're supposed to focus on. You ain't supposed to be focused on the initial payment. So people call things the wrong thing. They looking at the initial payment, they call it the cost. They say it cost me $100. I'm like, you got $2,000 versus 100? No, 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 no. It didn't cost you nothing. It pays you $1,900 just to take that little $100 bill out your pocket. But you got people who will squeeze Benjamin, hold on to Benjamin, squeeze him, kiss him, caress him, sing to him, talking about all, ain't nobody like you. There's no me without you. Singing to Benjamin, one little measly little $100 bill, passing up the leftovers because you've been taught in a child concentration camp, what you've been taught about money in a child concentration camp are lies. It's not true. This is not what it costs. This is what you pay initially to be able to get this. Now, so what's cost? Cost is when you don't pay the $100. All right. If I know how to get you $2,000 and you keep your little measly $100 and ball it up, put it in your pocket and squeeze mine, all this sort of thing, it's gonna cost you what? In this case, $1,900. All right. So what people don't understand is that they've been mistrained about what cost is. How in the world are you gonna ever have some real money if you don't know what nothing costs? All right. Even the Lord said, when man sit down and build a house, and first sit down and count up the cost. The cost is what it is that you're gonna miss out on if you don't do something. So that leads to my last point. And let's see if a couple of my friends want to come on and talk about what we've been doing. But my last point is this: the reason that people are so duplistic like this is because people don't know the difference between a contract and a covenant. All right. See, a contract, Queen, means that I write something out, me and you write something out. You can't get me and I can't get you. But in law, the word understand means this. It means that I appreciate something, I acknowledge it, and I agree with it. And that's the only thing you're supposed to sign for the rest of your life. I agree, I appreciate it, I acknowledge it, and I agree with it. So why in the world do we enter into agreements with folks that we don't appreciate, acknowledge, and agree with? It's because most of the time we just met them. We just want to get into something to see how it might work out. If it work out, cool. If it don't work out, cool. But that ain't that's not a covenant. See, a covenant is different. See, a contract is easily broken. A contract is built on duplicity. What is duplicity? Duplicity means I might do it and I might not do it. Are you familiar with the great Napoleon? Have you ever heard of the great warrior Napoleon?
I've heard of Napoleon from France.
Okay. All right. So from France, correct. So do you know why he won the majority of his battles and almost took over the world? Do you know what his major secret was?
What's that?
His major secret was every time they passed over a bridge, they burned it. All right. So what was his boys gonna do? You either gonna fight or die. You ain't got no third option. All right. You're gonna fight, and maybe you'll win, or maybe you'll die. But if you try to mess around with that bridge, you're gonna definitely die because you're gonna drown. All right. So he cut the bridges. So this is the problem with people, Queen. When a person signs a contract instead of a covenant, they don't understand a covenant is written in blood. That means that the only way we ain't gonna keep our word with each other is one of us got to die. So what does that do? That breaks all duplicity. See, a contract is written on duplicity, meaning that I can change my mind if I want to. And that's why the Bible calls you unstable and double-minded in all your ways. You dig what I'm saying? You're like a dog that's barking and wagging his tail. You don't know what to do. You walk up, be like, ruff, ruff. You like, what the hell? Should I rub this dog? Should I run? What should I do? I don't know. Should I rub him or run? I don't know what I ought to do. And that's the problem with us, especially us as a race of folk, because we be coming into these agreements with one another with the idea that maybe I do it or maybe I won't. But we don't understand covenant, the way that we operate at Stellar Wealth Management, the way that we operate, the way that Rick, the wealth coach, operate, and the way all my students operate is that we don't lie to each other about nothing. Why? Because I was doing good before I met you. So why I'm going to be doing good before I met you, then let you come into my life and become a liar and start doing bad? Because we know our lies going to have their part in the lake of fire. So listen, liability is a person's biggest problem. What do you mean liability? Your ability to lie, all right? Liability. You dig what I'm saying? The more duplistic you are, the more you lie. And what is excuse? Excuse ain't nothing but a dressed up lie. That's all. You just put some clothes on them. You dig what I'm saying? My brother told me a story about a lie and a truth. And Queen, he said a lie and a truth. He said people say they both went skinny dipping. He said, and while they was getting dressed a lie, he stole the true clothes. And so he ran down the street and ran into a bar and started bragging about what he did to all the other lies. He said all of a sudden one of the lies tapped him on the shoulder and said, man, guess who's coming down the street? He said, who is that? He said, the naked truth. He said, the naked truth. Truth don't need no doggone clothes. But when you enter into a covenant, you enter into a truthful agreement with somebody, meaning that it's only one way that this thing ain't going to happen. One of us got to die. Now, when that happens, that means that you don't have no B plan. All you got is an A plan. The reason people ain't rich, Queen, is because they're running around duplistic. They're starting something up, and they say, if this don't work, this is what I'm going to do. So you know what that produces? It produces fractured focus. What is fractured focus? I'm focusing on if it worked and if it don't work. And let me tell you something. If you want a surefire plan to go crazy, just sit around being duplistic like that, having fractured focus, starting something with the idea that if it don't work, I'm going to do this. Because you know what's going to happen? My mind, it need to be on one thing at a time. We need to make it rain one thing at a time. Come on, Queen, do this with me right quick before we got to get one testimony on if we can. Let's use let me see if Queen Tabitha, if you still here, it says Tabitha Plenty Platinum Jewelry, something like that. Send a request to our Queen here to come on, Queen Tabitha, if you want to talk about our challenge that we just had. And if you want to let her on, Queen, I'd appreciate that.
No, absolutely. But real quick, I do want to ask. So the challenge is coming up tomorrow.
Yes,
First day tomorrow. So people can go ahead and sign up for that. Where and how?
All right, so it's at financialiqchallenge.com. I believe it's pinned down there. JL Jane is pinned it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Still from JL.
What are they going to be getting out of that? What is the challenge going to be covering?
Okay, so it's 5 days. In 5 days, the first day you'll learn about how to shift your trust from the state to shifting your trust to being unincorporated. So you'll learn that. The second day, you'll learn how to get tax credits.
Incorporated questions. So that's the information that you needed. How do you get the unincorporated? Go to the challenge and you're going to learn it. All right.
So that's the first day. Then the second day, you learn how to get tax credits. So you learn how to get rich for real. All right. How to get back 4 times all the money you spend. I mean, all the money, your personal money and your business money, not just no business. I ain't talking about no write-offs. Okay. I ain't talking about that's country. I ain't talking about that. All right. I'm talking about real money. Real money is tax credits, multiples of what it is that you spent. The third day, you'll learn about how to buy property. How to buy property and don't have to pay $1 in taxes. How to buy and sell your properties. How to buy and sell your properties and not have to pay $1 in taxes. The fourth day, you'll learn about the law, where I teach you how everything that I'm talking about right now is 100% legal. I got court cases after court case after court case to teach you so you can educate yourself. And then, so that's the fourth day. And then the fifth day, I'll show you the 8 steps to take to create a real financial dynasty that lasts forever, not just when you drop dead. So that's the 5 days. That's what we're talking about.
All right. Who we got? Come on. We got students out here. I know we have because they've been putting up all the information through the the whole time we've been on live. So I know they out here. Send a request.
All right, so yeah, Tabitha, JL, any of you guys, just send a request right quick to come on. And while they're doing that, Queen, I got one more point to make if I could, since we got 10 minutes left. And so I want you to do this with me right quick. I want to show everybody how important it is to live up under covenant and not up under a contract. I mean, in other words, have one way of doing something and that's it. Because what is incongruency, or what is trauma? Trauma is when what you're doing on the outside, it don't match what's going on with you on the inside. So that means that all your trauma is self-imposed. So when a person walks around talking about, man, you traumatizing me, I'm like, no, you traumatizing yourself. All right? Because trauma is when what you're doing on the outside, it don't agree with what's on the inside. That's why your stomach rubbing right now. All right? That's why what you're doing, you don't feel good about it, because you know you're tricking off. So don't be blaming it on the next person. Michael Jackson said, don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. All right? Just fess up that this is my issue and that I got 100% control over whether I'm congruent or not. So we're going to do this real quick before, unless you get Tabitha, you get one of them in. So let's do this exercise real fast. I want you to count from 1 to 10 as fast as you can, Queen. If they ain't distracting you trying to come on.
7, 9, 10.
All right, good. I want you to go from A to J as fast as you can, Queen. Let's go.
Oh, goodness Lord, I lost the alphabet.
What's going on, my brother? Can y'all hear me?
You're doing good. Okay, hold on, JL. Me and Queen finishing this thing. Just hold on 1 second. So, Queen, now go from 1 to 10 and A to J at the same time, like 1A, 2B, 3C until you get to J. Go.
That's gonna take forever. 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5. Wait, why you?
Right, hold it right there. So you would have got it because you're a queen. You're smart and all that stuff. But when you did it the first 2 times, it only took us 2 seconds both times.
Right.
That's how you get rich. You get rich by acting out of a covenant, meaning I'm only going to do one thing and that's it. It ain't no 2 things at no one time. You got everybody running around. I'm like, your little pea brain can't do that. My little pea brain we not cut out that way. That's not the way we cut out. And it's not. And so it's nothing. Peter Drucker put it like this. This is the CEO of Merrill Lynch. He said, there's nothing more fruitless than doing something real good that you shouldn't be doing no way. You dig? It's just like talking about how good you robbed a bank. I'm like, player, you ain't supposed to be robbing banks. He said, but I was impeccable. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to get shot in the head sooner or later. So why you bragging about something that you ought not be doing? Look, get out of that game you did and get into some real game over here, and we'll show you how to make more. We'll show you how to become your own bank. We our own banks. We loan our own money out of our trust, and we fund our own deals nationwide, in fact, worldwide. And that's another thing people will learn this week when they come through. They'll learn how to become their own bank. I ain't talking about no life insurance policy, sis. I'm talking about real money. All right, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about real money, how you become a bank. JL the Genius, how you doing, my brother?
Doing phenomenal. How y'all doing?
All right. Oh, you said phenomenal. That's a great way to be.
So JL is 26.
Uh-oh. Ricky.
Right. This oh, right.
Ricky, JL, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your experience with the challenge?
Oh, okay, of course. My bad, y'all went out. I'm on the road right now. But I'm JL the Genius. I'm the one who helped put Rick's funnels and challenges together. And the challenge is phenomenal. Like, when I went through the challenge the very first time, I learned so much knowledge about, like, who I was. Because a lot of times we walking around, but we're corporations, right? They consider us entities, right? But we have to become a natural person. So we have to become a natural person, and we can only do that by learning what Rick is teaching in the challenge. And it's phenomenal. He talks about tax credits, how to get paid for paying your mortgage, how to get paid for buying food, all type of stuff. And this knowledge is just unknown. Rick is the only one teaching this information, and it's just a blessing to be in circles like this with people with that wealth of information.
JL, how'd you find Rick?
Me and Rick go back from when I was living in Indiana. So I was on my real estate journey and end up, I'm an inventor as well. This is one of our $1 billion inventions, and me and brother Rick got on the hats. But I was just on a journey, was calling these numbers, doing real estate. Somebody's like, hey man, you gotta meet my mentor. And then I end up calling Rick. We end up, connecting, linking up, and we've been stuck like Chuck ever since. So yeah, it's been about 5 years. I've known Rick for about 5 years now.
Okay. And what was the most beneficial challenge? What thing that you talk about all the time that you got from the challenge? What you share with your?
You said what's the most beneficial thing from the challenge?
Yeah. What are you spokesperson for when it comes to what you got from the challenge?
I'm a spokesperson for breaking the chains, right? That generational curse, that generational poverty mindset that I had. I'm a spokesperson for that. Really don't know how the 1% are operating, and we had the same opportunity to live life like that. So that's my biggest thing is the tax credit.